Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Monday, February the 2nd. Welcome to the month of February, and welcome to our good friend Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. Bill, welcome. We're a little bit beyond the storm. It's like 58. I just checked today, which is almost 40, maybe almost 50 degrees warmer than it was a week ago. But I think we're beyond that now. And how did the storm end up in New York City?
Well, New York, the New York area got a lot of snow, which is not common in New York. We haven't had big snowstorms in recent years, but a lot of snow. But it wasn't the snow that was the problem; it was the ice, and there were ice storms with it, and ice coming down and ice on the ground, and that is what held people up. People are being very cooperative, though. The advice they're getting from the government and other places is to stay off the roads, even if the roads look clear. There may be black ice under them, and cars can skid easily into each other.
Mhm.
And we have a good vantage point. Looking out our window, we saw the snowstorm, and it was quite nice. But people were very, very cooperative. When they were told to stay off the roads, they stayed off the roads.
But that's
And
good.
so that it could be cleaned up fast, but there is still ice there, and there are still uh, bitter cold warnings.
Yeah.
It is extremely cold in New York. We expect that in the New York area, and we expect that for a time. And what people are doing, smart people are doing, is they're stocking up on things so that they don't have to go out to get them again.
Right.
And they're basically living indoors as we have been.
Right. Well, for us here, the best way to clean the ice is for the temperatures to rise.
Yes.
And that they have done, even though Saturday and Sunday were very cold. The temperatures dropped again under 32, but at least the rest of this week is going to be very nice and sunny. So
That's good.
so we don't have any ice left over, but we sure had a lot of ice a week ago when you and I were chatting. Well, let me. I mention this every year, Bill, and I guess in the overall scheme of things, it's not that important, but it is hilarious. The Grammys had
Hmm.
their famous, I guess, whatever they call it, show,
Their
and
award, yeah, their very famous award show.
yes,
Yes,
and and that's fine. I mean, I'm not big into movies, so but I mean, if you like movies and people watch it, I guess to see if their favorite movie won whatever they were expecting it to win. But here's the part that always, of course, creates controversy is the actor or actress who decides that we want to hear what they believe about anything.
yes.
And one one person, one young woman, I don't even know her name, but one young woman said that we're living on occupied territory. And I'm sitting there going, okay, well, why don't we stop doing the show in Hollywood and maybe move it to wherever it has not been occupied? Or why don't you guys all give up your properties and give it back to the people that you supposedly stole it from?
it's, it's so completely convoluted. The Grammys are a kind of junior edition of the Oscars. That
Mm.
was the stimulus. They wanted an Oscar for the movie for the music industry. Never quite pulled it off, and the people who appear on the Grammys often are not the kind of people you'd want to invite over to grandma's house. You know,
Well,
uh,
starting with Bad Bunny, who's supposed to be Bad Bunny, is that his name? The fellow who
yes,
is supposed to be, now this is shocking, honestly, but he's supposed to be doing the NFL Super Bowl
well, yes, haven't got I'm losing you.
halftime show.
Yes,
And I'm sitting there saying, with the NFL, I don't know. There's something about Bad Bunny and the NFL. It's like they were made for each other. Somehow, I just think all
yes.
these NFL fans across the country who, these guys who watch football on Sundays, all they want to do is hear about Bad Bunny. I mean, what a bad choice! I think I don't even know what he's going to. I mean, I guess he's going to sing, But what a bad choice, Bill.
Yes, well, he is known for uh, somewhat tasteless entertainment and
Yes,
offensive entertainment. And yes, he's going to do the halftime show, which will drive the NFL further down and make the halftime show even more boring and ridiculous than it already is. I
right.
remember halftime shows that really were good back in the, as we say, the old days, where they really brought in the best people, the best entertainers, the best orchestras. But that's not the case anymore. They've come to the conclusion that these are basically, at the halftime shows, are basically for the kids and for quote the fans, and they have become childlike and often offensive.
Well, and I mean, I can remember the very first Super Bowl, the Packers and the Chiefs. They had their first Super Bowl. Actually, it was 1967. So, gosh, that was a while back. The very first Super Bowl. And the halftime show was high school bands from each city
Yes,
who got to attend and I have to be honest, I love high school bands or college
sure,
bands.
sure.
And I wish that we could go back to that tradition where maybe every city would bring, however they select it. It doesn't matter. But let's say New England would bring a band from the region, and whoever the other team is, Denver, I think, Seattle, or yeah, Seattle would bring a band from their region, and you would have sort of like a battle of the bands, the two college bands. I just think that I mean, that's what they do in college football, and it's really entertaining. So I wish they would do that and get away from all these people who are controversial. I mean, the NFL does not really need Bad Bunny.
No, no, it doesn't. It should be able to exist now on its own, without stuff like that. But I think what happens with these leagues today is that they have less to do with the sport than with just the business.
Sure,
The
sure. That's
business end,
exactly
and that
right.
it's as soon as you allow that to happen and take away the glory and the suspense and the atmosphere, you're heading downward.
Yeah. That is the one thing that I have to say that Major League Baseball has done better than the NFL and the basketball league.
Yes,
They've avoided the politics.
yes,
And you never see this in the World Series. I don't know. I don't know if they're smarter or if they, I don't know. But Major League Baseball has avoided this kind of political controversy that remember a few years ago with the NBA and all this kind of stuff, and or even the NFL. Baseball avoided that. They just say, you know what, that's not why people paid to see us,
that's right.
and we're going to stay with balls and strikes and leave that other stuff to everybody else. And I think it's smart
I
because
think it's smart. I don't want to see first base marked occupied
no,
territory.
that's
You
right.
know,
That's right. Or you're getting your World Series trophy, and you say, I am really sorry that I have to receive this on occupied land. That just doesn't go down well. Well, let's get into some serious matters. A lot of stuff this week going on. Iran is probably the most serious of all the matters, Bill, because
absolutely, sure.
that could break out into a war, dangerous war to say the least. Where do you see it at this point, Bill? We have a huge military presence in the region. I think we've got enough firepower now to do something. Maybe there's more coming. I don't know, but I think we have a lot already. So, where do you see it going right now, Bill?
Well, I think first of all we ought to just pause for a second and just realize that Iran, the image of Iran in the United States, is another small Middle Eastern country causing trouble. In fact, and this is very important to the discussion. Iran is a huge country. It has 93 million people. That is a big country. It's it's made up of Persians, the Persian culture. The Persians are known for their ability, among other things, are known for their ability to negotiate and to keep other countries off balance. They are not incompetent people. They have an incompetent government because it's a government that is not of the people. It is a government of the religious extremists. But this is not an easy job, Iran. It's a tough job, and I think we have a tough road ahead. For years, we have been letting Iran get away with things. They have been responsible for the deaths of many Americans, and we have never really done anything to punish them. They have, since the Ayatollah group has come in, which is under the brilliant administration of Jimmy Carter, that well-known international executive, and he allowed them to come in, allowed them to knock off the previous government, which was a totalitarian government, but it was our totalitarian government, and everything started to go downhill. And ever since, the countries of the world, including the United States, have appeased them. In the Obama administration, it was an absolute disgrace because Obama had no real problem with the Ayatollah government in Iran, and he started giving them things and coming up with agreements with them that have no intention of ever being followed, and that's where we are, where they are on the. They are doing two things right now that are completely outrageous, and one of course is that they are the center of terrorism in the world. The Iranian government is responsible for a great deal of the terror incidents around the world, even though their name may not be attached to it. It may be attached to it in other ways. And second, they are still a very important source of oil for many countries of the world. And the more oil they buy from Iran, the stronger that government economically can get. So you're dealing with that situation. You're also dealing with the fact that Iran wants to be a nuclear power, and also to have intercontinental ballistic missiles that can travel to the United States, ultimately, of course, with nuclear warheads. This is exceptionally dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous things as a nation that we have ever faced, and we have never gotten it right. They just keep going. They have murdered this year thousands of their own citizens who dare to march in the streets for freedom, for economic opportunity. The people of Iran are not anti-American by any means, but it appears that they are very anti their own government, and
Mhm.
that government has no intention of giving up until they kill an awful lot of people. I would like to ask the question: when we learned that thousands of Iranians were murdered as demonstrators, where were the demonstrations in the United States to
Where were the
protest?
speeches last night? Forgive me for interrupting you, Bill, but where were the speeches last night in the Grammys about this?
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, somebody mentioned that there was a gentleman who I guess had received an award years ago, and I saw him on TV at lunchtime. And this gentleman said, you know, everybody was talking about occupied land and all of this kind of stuff, Trump, ICE. My gosh, not a single person got up and said anything about the thousands of heroic Iranians. It's very easy to go on the Grammys and criticize Trump. It's not so easy in Iran to
No.
criticize, and yet you're so right. And this is, of course, pardon me for jumping in, but this is where the hypocrisy of these people just gets exposed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this is
Well,
where they go from being, you know, serious people to frankly a bunch of idiots. I mean, if you're going to talk to me about human rights, but you will not say a thing about Iran, sorry, I'm switching channels, Bill.
I fully agree with you. And I think, look, let's face it, we have a basically today a one party system in America. The other party, the Democratic Party, I don't even know if it's a party anymore. But whatever it is, they seem to have a great deal of tolerance for the government of Iran, as did Barack Obama, their hero. I mean, back in 2009, the people of Iran erupted in demonstrations for freedom, and it took Obama about 4 days to finally shuffle up to a microphone and say, "Yeah, yeah, we're for the people. Yeah, we're for the people," and did absolutely nothing to help them.
Right. And then they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize
Yes.
a little bit after that. But man, what a what a. But I mean, I just this is perhaps, Bill, and I don't want to give the Grammys any more time than they deserve. But this is when they have these sessions and these actor and actresses give lectures on human rights. Man, they always forget. They always forget there are some real people taking some real daring chances with their lives to protest their governments, like
All over,
Iran,
yes, Iran,
and
yes.
they don't say a word. I mean, yeah, there's going to be a lot of marches about ICE, but not about Iran. Yeah, I agree with you. What a hypocrisy, these people. Well, we have the argument, Bill, or the discussion that I used to hear for the last several days is that we're sort of building up a military force, but I think we got that in the region now. I mean, I don't know if there's anything more than we need than what we already have. Plus,
Yeah.
there's a lot of military force that it doesn't even have to be there, that can come from submarines and from other places too. So I would think that we have enough firepower now to, but if we're going to hit them, Bill, and I mentioned this last week and say it again, if we're going to hit them, we better hit them so hard that they don't get up.
Yes, well, that's the point. You know, there is the old line in international politics: if you strike at the king, you must kill him. And that's the case here. If you strike at the Iranian government now for what it has done and what it is doing, you must get rid of that regime. If we wind up with that regime still in power, but making agreements with us, we have lost
Right.
because they never keep their agreements. They always wait for the next guy to become president of the United States, who might be a Democrat and who won't care, and then we will see them continuing to build nuclear weapons, which they are, and intercontinental missiles that can reach the United States, which is a terrifying thought, and other machinery of war that we want them to stop. Now, the president has made it clear he would like to see a change of regime. He thinks it's time. Thinks that the regime has no business being in power. He has said the right things, but when the Iranian people were demonstrating in the streets and being killed, he said, "We're with you. Help is on the way." No help was on the way, and it's being noticed by everyone. He promised help, it did not come. Now he is saying they only have a little bit of time to to agree with us and to accede to our demands, or else the second blow might be a lot harder than the one last year. Well, you know, what is it? What's the second blow going to be? An agreement to agree, or an agreement that's going to be verified by the UN. We are at a period right now that seems almost otherworldly.
Yeah.
We don't really know, the American people, I mean, exactly where we are with Iran, and you would think on something like Iran, something this serious, the president would have already given a speech from the Oval Office, not from a rally, but from the Oval Office saying, "This is our problem right now. I want you to understand it and
Right.
why we are doing what we're doing." But he just, for some reason, doesn't have that in him. And I think there is great apprehension. Where does Iran stand on the polls in the United States? Basically, nowhere. It hasn't registered with the American people that what happens in Iran today could dictate what happens in the United States 5 years from now.
Right. Now, you brought up how dangerous the times are, and I agree with you. You lived through the missile crisis. That was pretty dangerous too.
Sure was.
Is this about the same or worse? I mean, how do you see it?
Well, far worse,
Yeah,
because in the missile crisis, uh, which I did live through, I was in the Central Intelligence
that's
Agency,
right.
and
That's right.
I was actually by accident, one of the first people to see the pictures that we had of the Russian ships arriving. Uh, this is far more dangerous
Hmm.
because Iran is far more
Right.
dangerous.
Right.
Uh, we forget, I'm not in any way approving of what the Soviet Union did, that Russia in the Second World War lost 30 million people. And it was ghastly for Russia. I'm now speaking about the Russian people, not the Russian government.
Right.
And they got themselves involved with the Cuban regime, probably somewhat irresponsibly, but nobody could believe that they were going to start World War III over some missiles in Cuba. I mean, they had a lot of other things to worry about. And so when I was there, and people would say, "Well, if they have missiles 90 miles off the coast of the United States, that's a problem." And yes, it is a problem, but perhaps not as big a problem as we were thinking at the time.
Hmm.
The really big problem is now with a country that makes it perfectly clear that it sees the United States as the great Satan and
Right.
worthy of being destroyed, and Israel is the little Satan.
Hmm.
The Russians weren't going around in 1962 threatening to wipe America off the
No,
face of the earth.
no, they were much. I mean, they were run by much more rational people
Yes,
than
they may
who
be
wanted to
evil, but they
save their
weren't
skin.
stupid. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They knew that if they got into a military action with the United States, they would involving Europe, that they would be in a terrible
Right.
situation.
Exactly. And they knew that. They knew the
Yes,
military differences, that they were much inferior to the U.S. and they certainly were not going to die over Cuba. I
that's
think
right.
that's a good point. Well, we'll see. I just have a feeling that one of these days we get together for a chat that we will be talking about an attack in Iran. I think my personal opinion is that it's coming. And
Yes,
if I
me too.
remember the way that Trump handled the last military action, he had us guessing for a while too. And then all of a sudden, one Sunday afternoon, or one Saturday afternoon, one evening, I should say, I'm having dinner. We're having dinner with a bunch of friends, and I'm getting a text from one of my sons saying, "Hey, we're in a war with Iran," and I'm saying, "What?" So Trump, I'm not saying that he's doing it the right way, but that's how he does it.
Well, that is,
And
and I think that I happen to agree also that eventually this will end in an American strike on Iran. I'm
but I think, pardon me for interrupting you, but I think it's going to be, Bill. My guess is that Trump doesn't fool around. That if he actually does pull the trigger, I think it's going to be big, which is why I think he's not doesn't want to jump into it yet, or doesn't want to jump into it. Wants to maybe hope for some internal change. Maybe somebody with. I was listening to this general who's often on Fox News, and I can't think
General
of the.
Kane.
Yes, and he was saying that maybe there's somebody inside the military there who's willing to overthrow the government and form a pro-American government. I mean, look, I don't know, but maybe they're looking at things like that in the White House. But my sense, this is just a gut feeling that I have that if Trump goes, he's going the distance.
I think he is. I think he knows that, and I think he was held back from striking Iran first, ironically, by the Israelis, who basically said, "You're not ready."
Yeah,
They live there, and they
right.
know, and they weren't ready either. That this is going to be a very large military operation. It's not going to be a 3-hour thing that we did last time, which was very effective and knocking out part of their nuclear program. It can go on for days and days and days. It can involve countermeasures by the Iranians. They can hit us in certain places in the Middle East, and I think the president is very worried about that. We could take casualties. They could be substantial in some instances. There could be mistakes made, and I think he realizes this is not without its risks. But as
No,
General Kane has said, you referred to him a minute ago. This is an opportunity that is very rare.
right.
That we are getting an opportunity here to get rid of the greatest sponsor of terror in the world, and at a point time when they are at their weakest point, where
No, you're right.
they can't even depend on the loyalty of their own people. And the question is whether the president is willing to take the risks involved and make that change. The general feeling of people like General Kane and others is that if we can knock out Iran, we will have changed the Middle East forever and for the
I
better.
I agree with that 100%. Ever
Yes.
since I remember, Iran has been this. I mean, look, you go back to that part of the region. In fact, I was talking to one of my sons about this last night. My son, this is my second son. He was born in 1988. So we were talking about Iran, and I said, "Well, you never got to see the Middle East in the 70s without Iran run by these people. And I said it was a totally different place. Um, in the 1970s, I mean, the region had problems, and I know there was an embargo and all of that, but you didn't have nobody in the Middle East was sponsoring terrorism.
Well, yeah. Well, that was certainly true. And if
I
they
mean, like
were,
I'm saying, like Iran, there were terrorists. I'm not
oh
denying
yes, oh,
that,
sure,
but I'm
they've
just
always
saying
been.
nothing like where you have a state-sponsored terrorism that gives you these terrorist groups that that are running around, creating problems in Israel and everywhere else. Bill, that's what I meant. Nothing like this.
Nothing as large as this.
Yes,
And as decisive as this, I
yes,
mean, the Iranian government has been the sponsor of one terror group after another and has been the architect of the killing of many Americans. If you go back to the beginning of that regime and then the things like the Marine barracks
right, right.
in Lebanon,
Oh
and
yes,
we
do
know
I
they've
remember that quite well?
yes, they've been behind a lot of these things, and it is probable that behind the Iranians are also others,
Yeah.
like the Russians and other nations, like the Chinese, who can use Iran as their outlet.
I agree. No, I think that this is. You're exactly right. This is people use the analogy of a cancer, and that's what this is. You need to remove it completely, and I hope we can. I hope we can. I would support a military action if one came, but it has to be brutal and it has to be very decisive. You don't want to
Yeah.
just take out their navy like Reagan did. That was a different situation, I know.
Yes.
But anyway, well,
Well,
let
the
me go
okay.
ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
No, I said we should consider the uneasy subject of some of the people around the president. We think of him as this giant figure, but he has people in his administration who make me very uneasy, including the vice president, who seems to feel this is not as big a problem as we think it is. It's probably a bigger problem, and some people in the White House itself who are too ready to negotiate away our situation.
Do you think
In
Marco Rubio? Because I don't think Marco
Oh
Rubio
no, no,
could,
not oh no, no, no. I'm not referring to Marco Rubio.
because
He's
he's
one of the
actually, I think, at this moment, I think he's the most influential person in the White House, Bill, right
I
now.
well, I sure hope so, and I sure
Yeah,
hope that his influence is not watered down by others
yeah.
who are closer to the president. But I'm worried about the vice president. I'm worried about some members of Congress. I'm worried about the reaction of the Democratic Party, who we always used to say politics stops at the water's edge. Well, that hasn't been true in years. And what if they start doing things as a party contrary to the interests of the United States and not caring about it?
Well, the War
That
Powers Act, I'm sure they're going to say he needs to do that.
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
they're going to bring that up. But Bill, let me move on to another topic here. I got a few things I want to get over or go over with you today before we run out of time. But uh, the mayor of New York City gave us, yeah, and I laugh because he causes me to laugh. But the mayor of New York City gave a speech the other day saying that the city is headed for some kind of financial calamity or something. I forgot what he said, but he
Well,
talks
he
about all these financial problems that the city's gonna having. Bill,
well, I guess he talks the way a man like him does talk. He's never had a financial problem in his life. He
right?
comes from a very wealthy family. I don't think he's ever run anything
No.
besides his mouth. And suddenly he gets inaugurated, and the first thing he finds is that he has to pay the bills,
Mm.
and there ain't much money left to pay the bills. And then he comes up with these crazy ideas that come right out of the socialist playbook. We're going to give people free bus rides. Uh, he better understand that.
We're gonna
This,
tax the people who've made all this money
yes, we're going to
and
tax them.
the corporations who apparently nobody has told this mayor. I'm sure they have, but he won't listen. That something like 8% of the taxpayers in New York City are actually footing the whole bill.
Yes, yes,
Something
and
like that. I've heard that it's less than 10%
yes, and
of the taxpayers.
without these big companies and these big financial interests like Wall Street, there
Yes.
would be no New York City. I mean, not that they're all wonderful. I mean, there are probably people who, in a moral universe, are making too much money for what they do. But the reality is that you see what is happening, for example, in states like Texas, where some of the New York corporations are putting new offices and getting much better deals for their money than they get in New York. And more people are going to realize that more. If Wall Street should go bust, the city will go bust because
Right.
they're the ones who are paying the bills. And also things like the tourist trade in New York depend on New York offering certain attractions
Hmm.
in a very pleasant and very enjoyable way that they will not be able to offer. And you can get that effect of one thing after another until the tourist trade will start to disappear. The tourist trade disappears, the New York theater will disappear.
Right.
One thing right after the other, and he will come to the people of New York and say, "This is what capitalism did to you."
That's right.
And
He'll blame it on capitalism, but you make a good point about safety. I mean, you're not going to take your wife out to dinner and to go see a show if you got to worry about people stealing her purse or
or worse.
stealing your watch or whatever. Yeah, or worse.
Well,
And
it's now been announced that he is wanting to remove from the police department the one great unit it has that controls riots. Very successful, very efficient and professional. Doesn't feel that's what we should be emphasizing. We should be emphasizing free speech.
right,
Well, I think we already do in a way. And he also wants to. What else? He also wants to remove. He's going to have trouble with his commissioner, who is a very pro police commissioner and one of the best police commissioners in the United States. Oh, he wants to eliminate certain units in the police department that are emergency units, and ask that the people who rush to a scene be psychologically trained.
right. Well, Bill, I think I'm going to start a countdown with you today. And the countdown is about how many more weeks before the governor of New York basically eliminates this guy, because the governor has the power to do it. And the governor may very well reach a point where it's like, hey, this guy is simply not, we got to get rid of this guy. He's not helping us get anything done. Because if New York City is, I mean, New York City is very important to, I would think, to the state of New York, Bill.
Well, I don't know what the state of New York is today.
Right.
We have, I think, a governor.
Yes.
I think we have a governor. I think
And you
she
do have a
lives.
state. The last time you checked, I think there's
Well,
something there.
it's
There's something
registered in a.
between New York City and Albany. I think it's called a state. I think.
Yes, it's registered in a book somewhere.
Yeah,
and
registered as a
you,
state.
you
Yeah.
can read about it. And yes, well, these are some of the big questions that are being asked.
Right.
The mayor of New York operates ironically at the pleasure of the governor. The governor can actually remove the mayor,
Yeah.
but there's no possibility of that, because she will then be destroyed, because the mayor is there because of the influence of the far left in the Democratic Party,
Right.
which is very powerful in New York and has no intention of doing anything to hurt this wonderful mayor and socialist at the same time.
Right.
And so we're getting a governor now who talks tough, but she never talks tough about the mayor of New York, and she never talks tough about anything that really matters to most New Yorkers.
That's right. Well, speaking of the influence of the left, Bill, I want to move us to the next topic, which is the wonderful Commonwealth of Virginia. I think that's what they call it.
Yes.
And it turns out that they had an election. As you remember, they had a lady who was running for governor, Democrat lady who was running for governor, who told us that she was a moderate, and that she was a moderate, and that she was a moderate, bipartisan moderate. And of course, she ran against this other lady who was the lieutenant governor. But anyway, she becomes governor, wins the election, and now she has become anything but a moderate.
Oh, yes.
She is now signing executive orders and approving legislation that, none of this ever came up during the campaign. But it kind of leads me, I bring this up because of the point you made about the governor of New York. the governor of New York, if she were able to go after the mayor of New York City, the entire left would turn on her.
Oh,
And I'm
absolutely.
wondering to what extent, Bill, the same thing is the problem in Virginia, that this lady maybe ran or pretended to be a moderate, but the minute she walked into their governor's office, there were like 10 people there from the other side saying, well, this is what we want you to do. We stayed
Yes.
silent. We were quiet during the campaign. We didn't create any problems for you, but here's your bill. Here's your
Yes.
invoice. You need
That's
this
right.
and this and that.
That's
And
right.
and that seems to be what I mean. It's the same thing that happened to then Vice President Joe Biden, who was supposed to be the moderate and
Yes.
ended up being anything but a moderate. And I'm wondering if that's maybe where the party is, that there it even Joe Manchin couldn't stay in that party. So
That's right.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to repeat myself, but I guess what I'm asking you, Bill, is there anything as a moderate Democrat anymore, Bill?
I don't know. I think there are moderates who are, with their signature, members of the Democratic Party, but the party is not the party that used to be. I mean, the moderates of the party today, and there are still some in the Senate, but they have no home. They have really no home because the party that they're members of will demand so much of them to avoid them being primaried.
Right. And
And
that's my whole point. That if you're a Democrat today, I mean, look at John Fetterman.
yes,
John Fetterman, they're talking about a primary against him.
yeah, well, yes, and he's uh, well,
And
I think
he's
there.
more liberal. I mean, he is a liberal in every way,
Oh, yes,
but he
absolutely.
just doesn't. He's not wacko liberal.
Well, that's the point. I think they want to run a wacko liberal against him, or force him to get rid of these silly moderate ideas and go much further to the left. But uh, it's Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the governor is a Democrat, Josh Shapiro. Uh, he is quite moderate, very popular, very good governor in the opinion of most people. But I haven't seen any signs that there's any big bloc in Pennsylvania that wants to go all the way to the left.
Right.
Because
Well, no, I mean that's a state that Trump carried 2 times
oh
in
yes,
3 elections. They just elected a Republican senator. Um, and look at Fetterman. He may be defeated in the primary. I don't think so, but I mean they want to go after him. But it is a very conservative state by all the signs.
yes,
Um,
and that's it's not a state that will go to the left easily.
no,
And the question is, next year, will the Democratic Party, through leverage and through influence and through a lot of money, which it has, will they force the state to the left, or threaten them with some other punishment if they don't go?
well, I don't know, but look at the lady in New Jersey. She also ran as a moderate.
Yes. Now suddenly she's a lefty also.
Yes, now she's all of a sudden maybe hasn't gone quite as far as the lady in Virginia, but she's not a moderate anymore. And I'm beginning to wonder if that isn't the playbook.
I think it is.
You run as a moderate, you tell everybody you're a moderate, and then you have willing helpers in the media who carry that water for you. And then everybody knows the game. Everybody knows the game. And then when you become governor or senator, then it's like the senator from Georgia. He's a moderate too, they tell us.
Yes.
But look at his voting record. He votes more with Chuck Schumer than with Ted Cruz.
That's right.
So, Bill,
Yes.
one more topic that I wanted to mention here. We're kind of running out of time, but one more topic is it appears that the Secretary of Homeland Security is going to keep her job, and that's okay with me. But that Tom Holman is going to become the face of what ICE is doing. And that's something that, in my opinion, is long overdue, Bill.
Yes.
This guy is brilliant. Holman is
Yes.
brilliant.
Yes.
Nobody explains ICE better than he does.
Extremely experienced also.
On top of that, I mean, he can say that he got a medal from Barack Obama for doing a great job. And but I'm just saying that I think this is one of those personnel changes that I think Trump is smart in making this change, even though I guess it's not technically a change. It does look like Holman is going to be the face, and I like that. I always liked Holman.
Yes, well, he has that terrific record, a lot of experience, knows how to do things, and knows the politics of
Right.
things. And I think he's going to do a great job for the president in the Minneapolis. But the state of Minnesota is in horrible
Right.
condition, just in almost every respect, and corrupt apparently from top to bottom. It reminds me of really corrupt states like Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't gone this far.
Right. What's interesting though, Bill, is when I have a couple of friends up there, and when you talk to them, they keep saying the state is going to turn red, meaning it's going to vote Republican. And I'm always doubtful. But then if you look at the last three presidential elections, look, Trump came within a point in 16, within 4 points in 2024. He did lose big in 20. But you look at that state and you look at that map, and Minneapolis is sort of the exception, Bill.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I mean,
That mayor of Minneapolis, Bill, couldn't get elected anywhere else but Mississippi, but Minneapolis and Minnesota, Bill.
Probably. Well, maybe a few people, a few places that are still holdouts where he would be welcome. For example, parts of Los Angeles.
Right. Well, that's true.
Oh, yes.
No, but I mean within Minnesota, he couldn't win another city, because if you look at that map, that's a blue lake inside, or blue island inside this big red lake.
That's exactly right. Minnesota, in terms of numbers, statewide, is very close between Democrat and Republican.
It is. And they produced, remember Mark Pawlenty, or was it Mark Pawlenty or Jim Pawlenty, the governor they had? Nate Coleman, I think, was the other one they had. Or they had some decent representation.
Yes, yes.
Well, Hubert Humphrey, Walter Mondale, those were good people.
They were decent. Yes, they were reasonable.
They were, and Pawlenty was a great governor, from everything I hear. So, anyway, I'm glad to see that Holman is doing. And let me leave you, Bill, today with a little going back in time. Farrah Fawcett, who was one of the three Charlie's Angels, was born on this day in 1947. She died fairly young in 2009 of cancer. Very sad story. But I don't know. I used to like that show. I'll admit that I became a fan of that show because those three girls were absolutely gorgeous, Bill.
They were, absolutely, and they were the show. Yes. You couldn't imagine it with anybody else. Their personalities and style made the show.
They did, and they've tried. They've tried other versions of the Angels over the years. I think they even made a movie called Charlie's Angels. I don't know what the movie did, but they were never able to repeat the magic of the TV show. I thought the TV show was perfect for its time. And they have the reruns once in a while. And
yes,
when they do, I enjoy them. I don't go out of my way to find it, but if I come across it on TV,
you're a happy man.
Yeah, I'm a happy man because Farrah Fawcett. And then, of course, I guess she made a few other movies too. I think she was married to this man who was the $1 Million Man, wasn't he?
Yes, he was another. Was it another actor? Yes, I think it was another actor.
Yeah. Lee Majors, I think was his
Lee
name.
Majors, yes.
Yeah, but anyway, she was a very beautiful woman from Corpus Christi, Texas, and that was a great show. And she died very young, so
yes,
we remember her today. Well, Bill, what a nice way to close the show, talking about Charlie's Angels.
Yes. And I remember it fondly, and I wish we had more good, entertaining leads in television shows today, but they're often so mean and loud. But that was a particularly good moment, well-produced show.
When you think about that particular time, you had Charlie's Angels, you had Laverne and Shirley,
yes,
you had Happy Days, and you had Dynasty, I think. and The
Yes.
$1 Million Man, all of it from ABC, I guess, around not necessarily the same day, but the same week.
Same. Yes.
Yeah, and you're sitting there saying, "My goodness, there's nothing today that comes even close to that."
No, there was a period where ABC had developed a kind of style of just solid entertainment, and it worked for them.
It did.
And they, I wish they still had it today, maybe a little bit, but it's those moments are not common. And when you get one, and you're the head of that network, just keep doing what you're doing.
That's it. No, you're exactly right, Bill. Well, thank you for your time, and we'll. I think I'm starting that countdown about Mamdani. How long is the governor of New York going to go with him? So I'm going to start that countdown.
Please report to me.
I will.
All your
Every
findings.
week we chat. I'll tell you 1 week closer.
Yes, please report all your findings, and I'll report all of my findings. And remember that New York is not only New York City.
No, that's exactly right, and that's such a good point, Bill. Thank you for saying that. Have a wonderful day, and thank you as always for your time, Bill.
My pleasure, always.
Oh, my good friend Bill Katz, the editor of Urgent Agenda. We spoke about a lot of things today. Iran, of course, is the most serious topic of all, and we'll see what happens in Iran. I have a hunch that something big is going to happen, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. And I do have a post coming out tomorrow about Virginia, with what's happening in Virginia, where all of a sudden the lady that we thought was a moderate Democrat has, I guess, forgotten about that. So keep an eye on that post. It's coming out tomorrow. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye, everybody.